Hey everyone, this tutorial is part 5 of the Build a Website from Scratch series. In this video, we're going to be building the Features section of the Easy Bank landing page from Front and Mentor. This section has some responsive content blocks, which are 4 columns on desktop, 2 columns on tablet, and 1 column on mobile. I'm going to be using flexbox to build this out. If you haven't seen the other videos in this series yet, you can watch the first one up here. Otherwise, let's get into it. Alright, now before we start any actual coding, we're of course going to look at the design and figure out how we're going to build this. So we're going to be building the feature section, which is this Why Choose Easy Bank section under the hero. On desktop, you can see that they're in 4 columns, and then they stack on mobile to a single column. For tablet, I'm guessing I might do a 2-column layout. Now for this section, I think what I'm going to do is build this using flexbox. Now, there's a lot of cases in layouts where you can use either flexbox or CSS grid. I do want to show you both, so I think what I'm going to do is build this top section using flexbox, and then for the next section under it, the articles, I'm going to use CSS grid for that. In my opinion, I think you could use either flexbox or grid for both of these sections, and it would be completely fine. Let's get started writing the actual code. So if we go into our code editor, we'll go to our index.html file, and let me just minimize the hero section since I don't need that anymore. And we'll create a new section tag, and we're going to name it feature. Okay, or maybe I'll say features since there's multiple features, just to make it a little bit more clear. Now the first thing we're going to add is the text above the 4 features. It says Why Choose Easy Bank with some subtitle, and that one is full width on desktop, so it's kind of the same for desktop and mobile. So let's add that here. We'll give this an H2 tag, and then we'll copy over the text, Why Choose Easy Bank. And under that, I'm going to create a paragraph tag, and I will copy the paragraph text over there. Okay, so then under the intro text is going to be the feature grid. Since we're using flexbox, the first thing we need to do is we need to create the parent element, the parent flex element. So I'll say div, and I'll give it a class of feature underscore grid. There we go. And then in that parent flex element, I'll create some more divs. So div class feature, maybe item. So each feature is going to have this div feature item. Let's go back to the design really quick. Each feature has a icon image, then it has a title, and then it has sort of a description. So I need to add markup for all those things. So the first thing I'll say is div class feature. Actually, I don't think I need to type in div. If I just say dot feature underscore, let's say icon. Then we'll say feature underscore title, and then feature description. There we go. So now we can add the different icons that we need for the icons and then the text as well. So for the icon, let's see what we got in our images folder. So these are the image files from Front and Mentor that we're adding into our project. So I'm guessing it's one of these, icon, API, etc. In our code, we can say image source and then add the source as the SVG file. Let's copy in our text as well. So what I'm doing here is I'm just building the first feature block just by itself. I'm not copying this 3 times so that I have all 4. The reason for that is I don't want to duplicate it until I know exactly the correct markup and styles that I'm going to use. So I'm just using this first one as kind of the first test case. Let's see how that looks. And I'm really just seeing to make sure the icon image is loading correctly, which it is. Haven't added any other styles, so it doesn't really look like much right now. So let's go back into our code editor. And I think this markup should be okay, but let's start adding these styles. So in our app folder, in our SCSS subfolder, I'm probably going to create a new Sass file called features or feature. I haven't decided which one I want yet. I'll create a new file underscore feature. I'll just say feature. And I'm going to move it over to the right so we can see everything. Yeah, so I'll do features as the section tag, and then for the feature grid itself, we'll just use the feature name. So feature. So I'm going to add underscore grid, item, icon, title, and description. And this is using the BEM or block element modifier approach to writing your Sass styles. I personally really like it just because it keeps everything in a compact file with just the styles related to these feature blocks. The first thing we wanted to do was create a style for the feature grid to use flexbox. Let's go back to the design. We do need flexbox on desktop to make those 4 columns for the features, but on mobile, everything is just in 1 column, so this doesn't actually need to use flexbox. I'm only going to turn on flexbox for desktop. So I'm going to use that media query breakpoint mixin breakpoint up, large, and then I will turn on flexbox with display flex. We're probably going to be adding some styles to the feature item for flex as well, so kind of get that started here. And let's just start out saying flex of 1. All 4 of these feature items will be on the same row. I'm guessing this markup is probably fine, so I'm going to take this and just duplicate it. And that's using the Control-D shortcut. So I'm going to save this, and I know it's all the same item right now, but I just want to make sure the styles look okay. Okay, looks like flexbox is not working for some reason, and let's go back and see what happened. So we have the correct rules, but actually I didn't include the feature SAS file in our main SAS file, so it's always important to remember that. Now let's look at the browser again. Okay, things are next to each other, which is good. I just want to kind of add some spacing so we don't get distracted by the other text underneath. Let's go back into our section tag, and I'm going to add some of those container classes that we created last time to add padding. This container PALL for padding all should help. And I'll put it in the features section tag. There we go. So it's a little bit better. And this is one benefit of using these utility classes like the container class and container padding classes that I created, because instead of having to manually write styles saying padding top, 2.25 rems, etc., I can simply create the utility class and then I can use it in any HTML element that I want, and it'll automatically take the styles. So it's good because it's easier when you're creating new markup. Also, you don't have to write duplicate styles because I know these are all taking the same padding. And of course, we'll probably have to tweak this a bit later on, but right now we're just trying to get the basics down. One thing that we need to remember with flexbox is that flexbox does not automatically include gap spacing between flex child elements. Unlike CSS Grid where you have the gap property, it's not included, at least not right now. I think Firefox is working on this property, but it's not universally used. Even though I'm using Firefox in my browser, I'm going to manually add spacing using probably the margin property for these flex child items. Let's look at the design again and sort of think about what we want to do. We need to add some space between these flex items, and it's hard to tell exactly how much the space is because the text is left aligned, so you're not always going to have consistent spacing between items, but we can make an educated guess here, right? So I'm using this little rectangle that I created in Adobe XD using the rectangle tool up here, and it's just an easy way for me to kind of eyeball how much space and how big things are. This, the space is going to be at least this much, maybe more. It says 29. In this case, it's 46. I think we're going to stick with the 29. So what I need to do is I need to add spacing between the flex items. Now you might think, okay, well, the easiest way to do this is to simply add spacing. I could add a margin right so that it would be between each of these items, right? And that would look fine on desktop, but what happens when we're going to tablet? And earlier I said I want for tablet to be 2 columns. In that case, if there's space between each item, when you stack them 2 and then 2 underneath, the second item in that flex row is going to have extra spacing on the right, so it won't look very good. So we need to figure out what we want to do about that so that it doesn't look weird on tablet when you have less than 2 flex items in a row. Now we could handle this a couple ways. So one way would be in our styles, we could say for the flex child items, we'll add a margin right of 30 pixels or whatever, but only for desktop. And then for tablet, we could say for every other item, it would have that margin right. So then you wouldn't have that spacing. Then you could do something like in each feature item, you would add padding to the feature item, and then the content would automatically have a certain amount of spacing. So how that would look would be, we want to add spacing so there's space between the items, but instead of margin, we're going to add padding. Because there's 30 pixels of width between items, you'd add half of that to the side padding for each item. Each item is going to have padding to make it more uniform of 15 pixels. That would ensure that you'd have 30 pixels of space between each item. I personally like using the padding method more just because there's always going to be space between each item, no matter if it's space between items next to each other or items above and below each other. Then you don't need to worry as much about media queries. So let's do that now. Going into our feature SAS file. In the feature item, we are going to say padding. And of course, we need our calculator. And it's 30 pixels of padding between items, so we need to divide that by 2 and say 15 pixels divided by 16 to get rems, so 0.9375 rems. And I think I'm just going to add padding all around the items, just because we know on tablet there's going to be 2 rows, and on mobile they'll be stacked one under each other. So we're not going to put this padding rule in a media query. And then also just for some additional visibility, we're going to add a little border just for testing right now. Let's see what we got. So now you can see we have our 4 flex items and they have a line between them and there is some padding. So they're nicely spaced. This looks pretty good. Since we did add the flex just for desktop, watch what happens when we get below the desktop breakpoint. They go to 1 column, and this is what we would want on mobile. But for tablet, we want them to be 2 columns. So how do we do that? Well, let's go back into our code editor, and we're going to start working with the flex property more. Now in the feature item selector, we want to add another mix-in for the tablet styles. So include breakpoint up medium. Actually, there's another thing we need to do. We need to make sure flexbox is used on tablet as well. So we need to add that medium breakpoint, turn on display flex for that, and then I guess we can turn this off, or not turn this off, we can delete that rather, since we don't need to use display flex just for desktop. What this mixin is saying is that it's going to have display flex for medium widths and up. That's hence the name breakpoint dash up. So going back into our feature item selector, in the tablet styles, we need to tell each feature item to take up basically half the width, right? So instead of the desktop where it's just fitting everything into 1 row, and instead of the mobile styles where everything is on its own row, for tablet we want each item to take up half the row. So we can do that with the flex property. So the flex property is going to be 1, 0, and then I'll say 50%. Now let me explain this. The flex property itself is actually a shorthand property, and it has 3 different flex properties that it includes. So the first one is flex grow, second one is flex shrink, and then the last one is flex basis. Now flex basis means the default width that the item is going to have. In our case, we want the feature item to take up half the width, so we say flex basis is 50%. Now for flex grow, what does that mean? Well, setting it to 1 as opposed to 0 means that it's allowed to grow in order to fill the space. So that's why for the large, we set it to just flex 1. And this is kind of a shorthand way of saying flex 1, 0, and then I believe either auto or 0%. But you can just say flex 1 to make the flex child item fit the available width with as many of the flex child items as exist. So if you want all the items to be the same width and to be on the same row, you would say flex of 1. So in our case, what is happening here is that each feature item is going to take up half the width, and it's going to be allowed to grow to fill up the space if it needs to, although this is not strictly necessary, so this should also work even if we said flex grow of 0. The next one is flex shrink. This basically means if the item is allowed to shrink less than the flex basis in order to fit on the row. So let's just start off with 0, 0, 50%, and I'm going to also need to turn on wrapping in flexbox because by default, if you don't turn wrapping on, it's going to try to fit all the child items in 1 row. So flex wrap and set to wrap. Okay, so now I think we have the styles we need to have the tablet styles look correct. Okay, so here's the page. Let's see how it looks on tablet. Ooh, look at that. So now it's taking up 50% starting from the medium breakpoint. Then as we continue decreasing, it'll go to 1 column for mobile. So this general layout is pretty set now. It's kind of doing everything we want it to do in terms of the number of columns. So I think this should be all set in terms of flexbox stuff. Now let's move on to making each of these items have the correct icon as well as the correct text. Okay, so going down here, the next one is simple budgeting. Okay, so we got our text down. Now we need to make sure the icons are correct. So the second one is simple budgeting. Let's see the file names. On images, icon budgeting, that's the name. Budgeting. The next section is fast onboarding, so icon onboarding. Then we got open API, so it's probably this one, icon API. See how it looks on the website, and we have our different icons and the text, which is great. Let's go back and style the text and also fix some of this spacing stuff here. The first thing we're going to do is we want to make sure that the intro text has the correct styles. So if we go up here, it looks like the H2 tag is going to be smaller than the hero H1 tag. So let's see Let's kind of estimate how big this text is. I'm going to say it's going to be about 37, maybe 36 pixels. Let's start adding some global text styles for the H tags. So a little descriptor there. So for H2, the font size was 36 pixels. Divided by 16 is 2.25 rems. And I believe that's just for desktop, because if we look at the design, the Why Choose EasyBank text looks smaller on mobile, so we're going to have to add some styles for mobile as well. This is about 30. Not too much different, but, you know, different enough. 1.875 rems. 1.875 rems, and then we'll add the font size 2.25 rems in our breakpoint. Let's say just for large. So we're going to tell the tablet styles to use the, oh, I forgot again, breakpoint dash up. There's a little error down there. And we also need to look at the margin underneath. So what I'm kind of looking at here is the two H2 tags that we're going to need on the page, the Why Choose EasyBank title and the latest articles title, because they look like they're the same size. And if you look at the format of the page, they should be H2 tags from an SEO standpoint. I'm going to measure the space under each of them and make sure it's the same. And if it is, then we can just add the same margin bottom. About 36. It looks like this is a little bit more. It's going to be 55. Honestly, I think that I might get a little bit away from the design and have them be the same amount of space. Let me just see how much space I put under the hero in that H1 tag. It's not a huge deal, but I just want to kind of be consistent with the spacing if I can and see what I've done already. So it looks like here the margin bottom is 1.5 rems, which is, if we look on our layout tab, 24 pixels. So for whatever reason, there's more space under the H2 tag than the H1, but that's totally fine. You know, this is just kind of how the design is. So I think I might use the 36 pixel spacing for both H2 tags, and it'll just be slightly different from the design in this case. So 36 margin bottom, and since we know that the font size is also 36, we'll just say 2.25 rems. And then there's probably going to be a slightly different mobile margin bottom. Let's see what this is here. About 25. So 25 divided by 16 is 1.5625. 1.5625 rems. Now let's see how this is looking so far. Okay, so there's a lot of spacing. I mean, I guess that's how it is. Now we obviously need to make sure the text looks correct as well. So it's pretty similar to the H1 styles, except that it is a different size. So let's copy some of the H1 styles over. Oh, where did I put those H1 styles? I wonder if I put it in the hero SAS file. Oh yeah, hero text H1. I'm going to move these H1 styles from the hero SAS file into the globals, just because theoretically, if there were other pages on this website, they would probably want to use the same H1 styles as we have in the hero. So let's do that. So let's open up the hero SAS file that we were working with last time and find the H1 selector. So I'm just going to copy this entire thing here, save the hero, and then we're going to add the H1 styles up here in the globals. That way everything is the same. Now another thing we can do to make our code a little bit more efficient is we know, looking at the design, that the H1 tag and the H2 tags are using the same font weight and probably line height as well. So I'm going to copy all the styles from the H1 tag that I think are going to be reused in the H2 tag and maybe even the H3 tag into this compound selector for H1, H2, and H3 tags. So we're going to take this, color's the same. We'll leave the margin bottom there because it's different, but the text styles themselves, we can reuse them. So I think actually font size should stay just in the H1 tag. There we go. So now we know that H1, H2, and H3 tags are going to have the same look, and the only difference that they're going to have from each other is the font size and then the margin bottoms. So this kind of just makes your styles a bit more efficient. Let's go back to our site, and now we can see that the H2 tag does have the same general look. It's obviously a bit smaller. Okay, going back to our design, let's see what else we need to do. Let's check out the body copy styles. And again, it looks like we can reuse some of the styles that we did last time, where the body copy looks the same as in the hero section itself. So let's see where those styles came from and where I saved them. So again, it's hero text P. Line height 1.5, margin bottom is set. So the font size itself comes from the body selector, which is good. It's the default font size. So what I think I can do is maybe assume again that the paragraph used in the hero is probably going to be similar styles to paragraphs used elsewhere in the site. So I'm going to copy those styles over as well into our globals. So we'll put this here under the headline tag styles. And we'll save the hero one as well and check back on the site. Looks pretty similar. I'm actually not sure if it looked different from before, but that's okay. Now let's see what we have, compare it back to the design, and see what differences there might be. Now, one thing I've noticed immediately is that the text, the paragraph text in this section doesn't go all the way across. It ends, whereas right now it's going all the way across. So I need to figure out how wide the paragraph is going to take and how I want to style that. So what I could do is I could add maybe a max width of this intro section. It looks like it's going a little bit more than half because we can assume that the halfway mark of the page is down here. And another trick that I use sometimes is you click on the artboard in Adobe XD, you go down here to the grid layout, the grid section, if you check this box, it's going to superimpose columns, and this is really handy for designers especially, but it's also handy for developers because you can count how many columns need to be for each section. And I think this should be, yes, a 12 column layout. And of course, like, this is superimposed on a JPEG of the actual design, so I may have to mess with this a little bit, but I'm really just using this to see where the halfway point is. So the halfway point is this white stripe right down there. And so it looks like the paragraph is actually going beyond that halfway mark, but it doesn't seem to align with anything else. What I might do is simply set this intro section to be 50% width, or maybe 55 or 60%. Let's go back into our index.html and go into the intro section, and I just kind of put the h2 and paragraph tags as direct children of the section tag. So what I might do here is create a child div. So class of feature, maybe intro. Oops, I'm running CSS styles. Intro, and then press enter. Kind of hard to fight with muscle memory. Okay, there we go. So now we have feature intro, this new selector that we're going to add into our features SAS file. So I usually try to order my selectors in the same order as they exist in the HTML markup. The feature intro comes before the feature grid, so we'll add it above the feature grid. So feature intro. And I'm assuming that the 55% width is only going to be for desktop, and for mobile it needs to go all the way across. So we'll add the breakpoint up, large, and we'll say width of 55%. And in this case for tablet it'll go all the way across, but I think that's okay. We can always tweak it later with a medium breakpoint if we need to. But let's load the site and see how it looks. Nice. Let's see exactly how far across that 55% goes. So it goes about here, kind of close to the design, right? We can also look at where the line break is. So the line break here is at Financial Hub. Financial Hub's on the second line, so we could just maybe increase the percentage so Financial Hub fits. So it looks like 60% might be more accurate. So we'll change this width property to 60%. All right, hey, we're doing pretty good here. Now the next thing we want to do, now that we've styled the intro section, is style the cards. First thing I'm going to look at is how much spacing there's between the intro and the cards themselves. Okay, so there's quite a bit of space between the intro and the cards themselves. Now, keeping in mind that we did add that padding, I'm just going to leave a little extra space to kind of take up the space of the padding I added. So it looks like it's about maybe 60 pixels tall. Where do we want to add this spacing? Let's go back to our site and check it out. We could add it in the paragraph, but let's say the client wanted to add another paragraph tag or multiple paragraphs into this section. Obviously, this is a hypothetical client since this is just a demo website, but this is kind of what happens in the real world. You know, you want to try to write your styles in a way that is future-proof as much as possible. So you need to consider, you know, what happens if they want to add more copy or less copy, or, you know, more feature items or less feature items. All these things could change in the future because, you know, these websites are supposed to be representations of real companies and things like that. In terms of the spacing, I'm probably going to add padding, bottom padding, to the feature intro section, or maybe margin bottom, to add space between that and the grid. So it looks like there's some space already from the paragraph tag, but we'll add some margin bottom to feature intro. So going to the feature intro, the margin bottom, and I think I said it was 60 pixels, so divided by 16, 3.75 rems. So margin bottom, 3.75 rems. See how that looks. All right, so now there's more spacing, which is awesome. And the interesting thing, I don't know if you notice this, but you can see in the developer tools, the margin bottom is highlighted in yellow, and that's the 60 pixels. You can see that the paragraph also has margin bottom. Even though there's margin bottom in both the paragraph and the feature intro, they don't combine together and like add to be, you know, whatever, 2.25 rems plus 3.75 rems. So I think we can consider this intro section actually done. One thing I want to check really quickly is the mobile styles for that. Looks like it is 36 pixels for mobile between the intro and the grid. Okay, it's actually the same. Okay, so it's still about 60 pixels of space between intro and grid. So what I'm going to do is move that margin bottom property into the default styles, which are the mobile styles in our case. So now if we look at the site, it is the same amount of space at the bottom, 60 pixels, no matter what your viewport is. All right, the next thing we want to do is we want to style these feature cards. So going back to the design, we can see that the icons have some space under them, and we need to also style the text as well. So let's start with the icon spacing. And the space between the icon and the text is about 44 pixels. Let's go into our code, and the feature __ icon is where we're going to be adding this style rule. And we want to say margin bottom 44 divided by 16 is 2.75 rems. So now we got our space. And I also want to make sure the spacing is the same, or see if the spacing is the same. So it looks like there's a bit less spacing for mobile. Let's say 30 pixels for mobile. So again, we will add the default styles for mobile. 30 divided by 16 is 1.875. And then we'll add the 2.75 rems in our breakpoint up large media query. There we go. Okay, so we got our spacing. Cool. Let me also double check and see if the icon image is the same or different. Looks like they're the same. Just double check that to be sure. About 74, and same for desktop. So I think we are good with this. They're staying the same between mobile and desktop. Let me actually add some spacing so that this can kind of scroll it more, so I'm not blocking it with the image of myself. I'm just going to add a min height to our body selector. Add to the bottom here, we'll say min height is maybe 200 viewport height. See if that helps in terms of the scrolling. Yeah, so now I can scroll down a little bit. Just a tiny bit more, 300. Now I can position it in the kind of a better place on the screen for all of you. Now let's do the feature block title. It looks like the font styles are similar to our headline font styles. Obviously it's a much smaller font size. Let's say about 24 pixels. Now going back to our code, it was feature __ title. So in our feature SAS file, we'll say, actually let's check the mobile styles first. It was about 24 pixels big for the desktop, and it looks a bit smaller for mobile. It's more like 20. So 20 for mobile, 24 for desktop. So font size, 20, it's 1.25 rems. And then we'll add our mixin for the breakpoint up. Large, font size is 24 divided by 16 is 1.5 rems. And we need to copy the headline styles that we had used from the globals. So I'm just going to copy font weight 300, 1.15, color dark blue. And we'll add them over there. For text styles, I sort of follow this order. I do font size first, then font weight, then line height, then color. Sometimes I'll do line height under font size because they're sort of related. Let's check out our styles. All right, looks pretty good. Now let's add the space under the feature title. So for desktop, it's about 36, maybe 34. And for mobile, it is a little bit smaller again, 26. So let's say 24 and 34. This is going to be the feature title selector. We'll add a margin bottom property. 24, 1.5 rems. And then the margin bottom for large was 34 divided by 16, 2.125. And checking back on the site, looks good. Next thing is to style the paragraph, the feature description styles. So it looks like on mobile, 15, let's say 16, just because. And then for desktop, looks like it might be the same actually for desktop and mobile. Yeah, I think they're actually the same. So 16 pixels for both. And this is for the feature description. So font size, and I know that 16 pixels is 1 rem, so 1 rem. It looks like we need more line height because there's not enough spacing between the lines. Line height, let's say 1.5 perhaps to start. Font looks a little smaller on the design than in the website. Maybe 14 pixels instead of 16. Does that seem a little closer? I think that's closer. So we'll do 14 pixels and then 1.5 line height. So 14 divided by 16 is 0.875 rems. And then line height, 1.5. Here we go. Okay, looks good. I think maybe we can take away that magenta border that we'd added. And then this should look pretty close to how it should look on the design. Okay, one thing that I think I forgot is I need to add that gray background to this section. Okay, let's see, what color is this in our variables? So the very light gray was the hero background, maybe the light grayish blue. Let's see if that's correct. So I'm going to add it to the, let's see, I want to add it into the features section. I honestly might just rename this to be feature singular so it matches, you know, the feature __ classes as well. Background color, and we'll paste in the light grayish blue. Does that seem right? That seems pretty close. Now, of course, we need to add some more spacing here because, yeah, it's not quite enough. Looks like it's about 110 on top, and then a little bit less on the bottom, 90 on the bottom. Let me go double check what I'd added to that container class that we'd created last time. So I think I said, here we go, padding top 2.25 rems times 16 to get the pixels, 36 pixels. So this is much more spacing for this section. I wonder if I just hadn't added enough, yeah, padding to this. I might just try to keep them all the same, around 90 or so. And then I'll add more for this top thing here. I wonder why I'd added only 36 pixels of padding. I wonder if that's because of the mobile style that I was looking at. So I think what I'm going to do is just increase the padding basically all around for that container class. So we'll do 70 for mobile, we'll do 96 for desktop, and then we'll see if this breaks anything. We're doing 70 for mobile, so padding top and bottom should be 4.375 rems. And we want that to be the same on the bottom as well. And for now we'll leave the padding left and right. Yeah, so we'll just, any case that we had padding top and bottom, we're going to increase it to 4.375 rems for mobile. And then for desktop, so include breakpoint up, large. I'm going to say padding top, and that was 96, I think I said. So 96 divided by 16, 6 rems. This will be for both padding top and padding bottom. This one just has padding top, so we'll delete that. And this just has padding bottom, so we'll delete the padding top. Okay, so for now we'll leave padding left and padding right. Check out our website, see if things look better and if I broke anything. So you can see there is more spacing here. It's good, 70 on top and bottom. Looks decent enough. Let's go to desktop. But in terms of spacing the container, the nav looks okay, which is good. And then here, we need to make sure that this goes all the way across. But the top and bottom padding, that looks pretty good. So let's fix this thing here. Basically, I need to make the container PALL a child of the section itself so that it doesn't get limited in width. So I'm going to create a new div, call it feature content perhaps. And then I'm going to move all the HTML into this child div. Then I will move the container out of here and into the feature content. And this will ensure that the feature section itself will have that light gray background and it won't be limited in terms of width. It'll go all the way to the left and to the right. You can see that's happening. And then in the feature content, that's where you get your max width set for the content inside the light gray. So this looks pretty good. Go to the design and do just an eyeball and see if anything looks off or if this looks pretty close. And this looks pretty close. I'm pretty happy with that. I think there might be a little too much spacing under here, under the feature title. Yeah, that's too much. So it should be about 32 or so. How much space do we actually have here? 34. I think I need to just decrease this a little bit. So let's say margin bottom 30 pixels. Margin bottom 30 pixels. Still looks like a little bit too much spacing. Yeah, that's a lot less. Even though this does seem correct. Sometimes there's just added spacing from the text afterwards. So you can see here, there's a tiny little bit of spacing until the text starts. So this is probably what I need to account for. So let's try maybe down to 20 even. Maybe even a tiny bit more, 22. Maybe 24. I think that's close enough. So we'll change the feature title margin bottom to 24 pixels. Going back to our feature SAS file, margin bottom needs to be 24, 1.5 rems. And then let's check it again for mobile because that will also probably need to be decreased. So it's a little bit less, yeah. I think I'm just gonna have to try to eyeball it again. Margin bottom. Start with maybe 20 pixels. Let's try with 16 pixels. We'll do 16 pixels for margin bottom on mobiles. And 16 pixels is 1 rem. That looks much better. Let's go back to desktop and then compare it again to the design. Okay, spacing looks pretty good. And let's go to mobile. See how that looks. I guess I can use the emulator too. Okay, so in mobile, everything is center aligned, including the icon. So let's do that. So maybe in feature, I'll say text align, center for the default mobile styles. And then let's start this with medium since it's 2 columns for the features for medium. So we probably want those to be left aligned. Text align left. It's not centered. Let's check back here. Why is that rule not working? There's no error in the SAS. And I cannot see. Oh, wait. Oh, no, I did this again. Breakpoint up. Okay. Now we should be good. Okay, now, yeah, text align left is showing up. So now going back to mobile. That looks good. And then tablet width is around here. So this is going to be, you can see 2 columns. Everything's left aligned. Desktop, it's 4 columns and everything's left aligned. All right. Yeah, this looks pretty good. Looks close to the design. Okay, so I think we can consider the feature block to be complete. All right, so that was the responsive features block. I hope this video helped you, and if you have any questions or comments, you can always leave them down below. And as always, thanks for watching and keep on coding.